Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's your favorite guy with a brand new tag. Today, we're here to talk about getting started with RStudio for the R4 NOMS workshops. What we're going to do in this quick video is walk through the basic layout of the program, some of the bells and whistles, and give you a bit of a guided tour for some of the things that you can do. Later, we'll come back to talk about how to install packages and actually write and run code. Okay, so what you're looking here is pretty much the default setup for RStudio the first time you open it, brand new out of the package. We've got a bunch of different things happening all over the screen here, and we're going to try to wrap our minds around that just a little bit, maybe even before the workshop ever gets started. And so what I want to do is just kind of walk you through these from left to right, top to bottom, and talk about how we can organize these and some of the cool things you can do to make your experience a little bit better. So this is the interface that we'll be using for writing and running our code in R for the workshop. We will always be writing our code in this source file editor or script. You've got some scripts that came with the workshop files that hopefully you've downloaded at this point. And we'll talk about how to get those all talking with the RStudio IDE nicely for us. First, one thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to kind of customize the layout a little bit, and then we'll get into a little more into how a bunch of these different panes work. So very quickly, top to bottom, left to right, we've got our script or our code editor here on the left, our source file. This will be saved to a file on our computer. You've got your environment inside of R over here in the top right in this case. This will show you what objects you've created in R or data sets that you've read in. And you can use it to read and write data, but we won't use it for that purpose. This also has a history tab here that we'll talk about a little bit in terms of how to use. This allows you to keep track of all the code that you've written and run, and you can send it back to your code file or to the console here in the bottom left where code is actually run. So I'm going to blow that one up just a little bit so you can see that it's going to come with some text already in the editor when I first start R. This is just letting me know what version of the program I'm running, etc., how to cite it. You will probably have a different version than this if you've installed the most recent version for the workshop. That's fine. I use 3.6 because it's a little bit older and plays nice with all the software programs that I like to have talking with R. And then finally, in the bottom right-hand corner, we have our file browser, our plotting window, where we're going to manage packages, which you can for now think of as kind of like plugins or add-ins, where we'll be able to view help files for various programs within R, and then where we can look at things like data or reproducible research document output. So for controlling all of this, you're really going to be most interested in the Tools menu. For now, we're going to go down to the Global Options submenu there, and I'll click on that. And the first time that this loads, it'll load a little more slowly as R is still kind of getting up to speed and building these caches for you on your computer. But mine popped right up. This gives you a whole bunch of different options for making your code writing experience all the less painful. The first thing that I want to draw your attention to is the layout of the panes. These are the panes that we just discussed. Generally speaking, I tend to keep my console over in the top right corner. If you'd like to move yours there so you can follow along a little better throughout the workshops, all you need to do is click this upside down triangle and choose console. And everything else will automatically be switched to the bottom left. This is how I'll work throughout. You're welcome to do that if it makes it easier for you. You certainly don't have to. The reason why I like to do this is so I can have my source, all of my code, in one window, and my console, the place where all of my code is being run, in another window. Go ahead and click Apply when you're happy with that. And you should see things shift around a little bit. The next thing that most of you will be interested in doing is playing around with the appearance a little bit. The appearance doesn't actually control any of the machinery under the hood. It just allows you to change the way RStudio looks. This can make it nice for interacting with, especially if you're going to go into full-blown all-night code sessions. So my strong recommendation is if you're going to be spending a significant amount of time on the computer, choose one of the darker themes, something like Dracula, for example. I like the KR theme for these. But I'll be working with the default TextMate because this tends to show better in terms of screen resolution for teaching. You can use whatever you like. Note that you can also change the font size in the editor in the console, the style of font that you're using, and then the level of zoom depending on how well your computer does or does not play with applications like these. Again, when you're happy with that, you can go ahead and hit apply. Finally, if we go up to the General tab, there are a couple of options that I instruct folks to make changes to immediately. The first of those is that we do not want to restore our data into our workspace at startup. What this will do is it will go out on your computer and look for a file called .rdata in the current directory, wherever that may be, and it will try to load a whole bunch of old stuff into memory. Now that sounds like a really great idea if you've run a really long analysis, and indeed it can be very useful for that. But as a default, we don't want to have that clicked, even though it is checked by default. So go ahead and uncheck that. The other thing I would recommend that you do is to tell R to never ask you to save your workspace to the RData file on exit. Otherwise, it may try to load that again. Now, this just in general is not good practice because that may leave things that you've forgotten about available in the memory of R, and it could mess up your code even though you don't realize it. Finally, I choose not to save my history, even if I'm not saving the RData file, because I write all of my code in a way that it's reproducible and can be run from top to bottom. We'll talk more about that in the workshop. When you're happy, go ahead, hit apply, click OK, and we're good to go.